Here we just need to activate the coil. Once this coil activates, it creates a magnetic field, and then this switch closes, and then the power that's here on pin 30 will travel through, go out to pin 87 and out to whatever you're controlling, whether it's a fuel pump, AC compressor, fan, blower motor, whatever it is. So you can see that on the side of this relay, that's what they're showing you here. 85 and 86, there's a coil. Once magnetic field is created in here, it pulls the switch, it makes contact, and then we have current flow from pin 30 to 87. Now if it doesn't have a diagram on the side of the relay, it'll have numbers on the bottom of the pins. I think you can see that on this relay. On this style relay, you see how these three are facing the same way, how they are parallel with each other. You can see that pin 30, 85, and 86 are always going to be parallel. The one that comes perpendicular, that's going to be pin 87. This right here is 87A in the middle, and that's usually not used. So anytime you see a relay like this, and for whatever reason it's not numbered or not marked on you for you, then what you can do is know that these three facing the same way, the two that are side by side, those are your control side, 85 and 86, and then the ones that are perpendicular to each other, that's pin 30 and pin 87. Pin 87 will always go to your load side, which is your pump, your fan, your light, whatever you're controlling. So if you ever need to jump a relay and bypass it, you're gonna have to jump pin 30, put a wire to it, to pin 87 at the relay box. So one test you can do on the relay to make sure that it's working on the relay itself is resistance check across pin 85 and pin 86. So let me show you this. I got a couple relays here that I'm going to show you just so we can see different resistance. Alright, so the very first test you want to do is a resistance test of the coil to make sure that the coil is good. Now this is just bench testing the relay. This is not testing the relay on the car or testing the relay circuit. Alright, so the first thing, these three pins are parallel. Now remember that two parallel ones that are across from each other, that is going to be our control side, that is the coil. So if we look at this one, we got about 72 ohms on that relay. And this is it says Pro Link relay. Okay, so that's one. Let's look at one from GM. This one came out of a GM product. So let's look at the terminals. Set it up like that. The three that are parallel to each other, we go across the two that are across from each other, and we've got about 84 ohms of resistance. So that coil is intact, there's no problems there. Actually, we got about 75 ohms. Okay, now you should have resistance across that one. You should not have resistance across pin 30 and 87 like I'm touching them here. If you do have resistance across these two, that means that that switch in there is stuck closed, and this one is good. That you shouldn't have resistance across these two until you have a power and a ground on this side, which activates the coil, which allows current to flow from pin 30 to pin 87 and out to whatever you're controlling. So that's the second relay. Let me test this one. This is the one that says Dualtech Electronics. So set it down, look at the three pins that are parallel, and we go to the two that are across from each other. And we have about 73 ohms. Now let's check the ones that are opposites, pin 30 and 87. Okay, I'm across pin 30 and 87 and I've got nothing. Now if I go across pin 30 and 87A, I should have some kind of reading because this one has 5 pins. And you can see on the ohm meter I got about 1 ohm of resistance. Now you're able to see that on the diagram here on the side. The contacts across pin 30 and 87A. 87A is the pin in the middle. You can see that on the diagram that that switch is touching the other one, so you should have some kind of resistance there, and you do. So once this coil activates, that switch will switch over to pin 87, and then we should have continuity between 30 and 87. So now that we checked the resistance of the coil on the relay, we can actually energize it by adding power and ground to terminal 85, to pins 85 and 86, and see if the relay clicks. So when the relay clicks, what you're actually seeing is these contacts being pulled in through magnetism. And just because the relay clicks doesn't mean that the relay is actually good. So first let me energize the relay and let me show you what that looks like. So I got a positive wire here and I got a negative wire here that are connected to a jumper box. So I'm gonna connect these across terminal 85 and 86 of the relay. So you should hear the relay click and you should be able to see the contacts moving. Alright, so that doesn't necessarily mean that the relay is good. That just means that the coil is energizing, the contacts are moving, but we still gotta check if there's continuity from pin 30 to pin 87 when the relay is activated. So I'm gonna set my digital multimeter over to continuity, or you can set it on ohms, either way. And I'm gonna take one lead of the multimeter to pin 30 and the other one to pin 87. Okay, so that's pin 30, pin 87, that's a power feed. And now I have a ground right here. So this ground is on the control side. This one can be a computer, it can be a module, it can be a switch. It's whatever's controlling the ground for the control side of the relay. So once I touch this here, you should hear the relay click and you should hear my multimeter beep, indicating that there's continuity between pin 30 and 87, and that indicates that this relay is good. So here we go. So that's a test that you need to do on the bench with the relay out of the car. Testing the relay out of the car only tells you that the relay is good. It does not tell you anything else about the relay circuit, about the control side of the circuit, the load side of the circuit. This just tells you that the relay is good. Now it doesn't matter what kind of relay you use. You can use this style relay or you can use this style of relay. This is another style of relay that you're going to be seeing. Now this is the one that you guys saw on my Hyundai Sonata fuel pump video. This is the same style that was on there. And let me see if I can get you there. Focus. Now on this relay you're not going to see pin 85 and 86, 30 and 87. What you're going to see here, let me see if I can, oh here it is. You can see it on this one. 3 and 5 are the equivalent of 30 and 87. So if you need to bypass the relay, these two are the control side, these two are the load side, and this one right here is the one that goes out to the load. This one right here is going to have a power feed. Then once the relay activates, that switch will close. The power feed will run from pin 3 to pin 5 and out to whatever you're controlling. Now essentially on the inside it's the same thing. Here's the coil. You can see the switch right here. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and activate it so that you can see what it looks like when you got a good power and a good ground on the relay. So I'm going to put a power here. I'm going to activate it by touching the ground to the other pin. And you can see it activating. Okay. So this relay is good. The coil is good. It's making contact. But what you really got to check is if that power from pin 5 is actually making out to pin 3 and out to your load. Essentially it's the same thing. Now